Hey guys, what's up? It's Swing. I am back with another video, and in this video I'm going to talk a bit about comments and how you can maneuver them in a way that doesn't affect your self-esteem, your relationship with your work, and just your overall attitude towards creating your webtoon or creating your story. We live in a day and age where literally comments are everywhere and people have the ability to give their opinions and their comments and their likes and dislikes on literally every single thing. So we really want to be able to have a healthy relationship with comments. I'm first going to talk about my experiences dealing with comments. As you guys may know, I am a webtoon comics producer. So I've created and produced the series Archie Comics, Big Ethel Energy, Spells from Hell, Night Owls and Summer Skies, to name a few. And of course, every single time I launch a series, I am ready and just prepared for the onslaught of comments, likes, views that it's going to get. My first series ever that I launched and wrote and produced was Spells from Hell. When the launch happened, I was so nervous, and I was only a college student, so I was very, very naive. The first episode got over 100,000 likes, and that translates to over 1 million+ views, which absolutely blew my mind, and it just drove me into this state of like absolute anxiety and nervousness. I was just so scared about what people thought of my story because it was the first time I was doing it. Not to mention, it was a really personal story. It was an OC that I created in college about me and my ex-boyfriend at the time, and so I was very self-conscious about the story. So because of that, I relied really heavily on the comments. I would read the comments all the time. I really wanted to know if people liked the episode, didn't like the episode. A lot of the times it made me really happy seeing, you know, the things that people would say, and then a lot of the times it would also make me very self-conscious about my work, and it would make the imposter syndrome just that much more in my face, you know? The comments affected me so much that I actually changed a lot that happened in season 2 because some comments were being not very nice. That's something that I probably won't do this day now, but I think at that time I was very naive, very inexperienced, and really self-conscious about my work, and so that was the best route that I could take in order to make myself feel a little bit better. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is a little bit of psychology. I think the main reason why people do get really caught up in comments and get really affected by comments is because it feeds into their fears. So there are two big reasons why I think people try to get approval through comments or are very reliant on comments. The first reason is obviously art is a very personal, intimate, and vulnerable process, and it is really scary to put those really personal parts of yourself onto the internet, onto a place where, you know, the whole entire world can see. And so acknowledging that and acknowledging how big of a feat that is and how strong you are for just, you know, taking that step and putting yourself out there is just really important, so that you can really understand where that fear comes from. Now, the second biggest fear that I think comes from reading comments a lot is because obviously they've put a lot of time, resources, energy, effort into this story, into this thing that they've created, and so they want to make sure that there's a good payoff. They want to make sure that their story doesn't fail. Big reason why people rely on comments is because that is the quickest indicator for us to realize or know whether or not people like it, whether or not it was a success or a failure. Obviously, we really want to have a very wholesome situation where all of our hard work pays off 100%. But we all know that life doesn't work like that. Sometimes things are unfair. Sometimes you can give 150%, 200%, and the payoff is only 20%. So just acknowledging that, you know, the reason why we look for validation externally through comments and all these kinds of things is because of these two main fears can kind of help you quell and understand the reason why we have a tendency to do that. Now we can really focus on putting the energy on what matters, what truly matters. Usually what grounds you to the most important things in your process of making a webtoon or making a story is what are your values while you are doing this. A good way to figure out what we truly value is by looking deeper into our fears. So the first fear that I talked about is obviously you're sharing something really personal and really vulnerable, and I think as artists it is just an innate inclination for us to want to share parts of ourselves in a very artistic manner. That is the reason why you're making your webtoon or making your story. So really focusing on the process and the art and the reason why you're doing it. It's because you're an artist and it's because this is your calling, right? Now, the second reason why people may have fears or may want to gravitate towards comments is because obviously they put a lot of time and resources into it. If you are putting a lot of time and resources into your story, into this process, you should want to enjoy every single second of it, right? Because it takes up a huge chunk of your life and a huge chunk of your day. This is the value of really appreciating and really enjoying the process. I learned a new shortcut, or I learned, you know, this is a better way to tell this part of the story. So finding joy in just doing the little things, creating your characters, decorating your panels is way more fulfilling and makes you feel way more gratified because it comes from you, it comes from your own actions, than just looking at the comments and just having this gamble of like, maybe sometimes I read the comments, I feel good, maybe sometimes I read the comments and I feel bad. Now let's take a deep dive into who is commenting. Obviously, there is only a subset of people commenting, and this subset of people commenting is not, in fact, it is a very skewed reflection of the people who are invested in reading your story, your webtoon. So who are the people that are commenting? First of all, it's the people who are very, very vocal online. Secondly, the type of comments that you would see is somebody who feels really strongly about something. Obviously, you know, when you see reviews at restaurants or, you know, product reviews online, it's always, oh my gosh, it broke, or oh my gosh, shipping was so late. It's always just the really strong outliers that prompts people to write a review, whether it be good or bad. Most of the time, readers are kind of more on the neutral scale. They're not exactly super zazzed about your story, so much so that they feel the need to comment every single episode, or they're not like super, you know, hating on it so much so that they feel the need to say something really hateful. So most people are in the middle of that spectrum, so you don't need to be skewed and have your emotions be swayed and opinions and just all sorts of things be swayed by the outliers that constantly feel the need to raise their hands and say something about it. So this brings me to my next tip. Whose opinions and what opinions actually do matter? This is something that I gleaned from a book called Mastery by Robert Greene. I highly, highly, highly recommend that book for anybody who is an artist or learning to master a craft or a skill. Feedback that does matter are from people that you respect and admire. I'm sure the average Joe sitting in front of their computer or scrolling on Webtoon, sending that one comment like, I hate that character, is definitely not somebody you want professional advice and feedback from. And so you really have to pick and choose who would be giving this type of advice. Obviously, it would be a mentor, maybe a peer. This is why peer reviews are really, really important. Somebody who also does the same work as you, has qualities of their work that you really, really admire and you can share tips and tricks from. A teacher, you know, somebody who you really respect and admire for their work. Just somebody where you feel like you could learn something from. Try to reach out and talk to them and be like, hey, like, what do you think of my webtoon? Let's share ideas about webtoons. Let's, you know, cheer each other on and just try to improve together. Or if it's like a teacher, or if it's like a parent or somebody whose work you really, really trust, you can go up to them and be like, hey, I'm writing a story, I'm writing a webtoon, I really want to know what your thoughts are about it. And sometimes they would share their feedback and maybe it would align with what the comments say. If that's the case, I mean, that's a 100% certainty that that is something that maybe you need to work on, and that would be very constructive feedback. Sometimes isn't productive to really accept everyone's opinions, because obviously, you know, some people haven't learned anything about story writing or drawing or art or anything. So what's the point of, you know, taking their opinions into play if that is the case? You probably know more than them because you've been making a webtoon for way longer than they have, because they've made 0 webtoons. So this brings me into my last and final tip, which I think is the most important tip: how to actually constructively look at the comment section and be able to improve your work that way. When we are analyzing the performance of our webtoons, what we look at is engagement. Ultimately, we want to see if more people are reading, more people are engaging. And engagement isn't just in comments. Engagement can be, you know, the amount of views going up, the amount of likes going up, and even the amount of people commenting every single week going up. Engagement is really, really important. Not just the content of the comments, but also the data and the numbers. Is there a specific part where the engagement peaks or a specific part where the engagement drops? And once you have all of this data, say, oh, by episode 20 or 30, I really noticed that my engagement started to drop. What happened there? And then that is when you look at the comments. Comments can glean, not 100%, give you 100% of the picture, but give you some hint into maybe what part of the story the readers didn't like or the readers thought were not as engaging. Sometimes comments don't give the full picture of why that part of the story wasn't doing too well, and so you would have to look into the story content and just analyze what part of the story happened, what was the major plot point, and maybe consult one of the people that you respect and admire and put your noggins together and do a little bit of brainstorming as to why you think that part wasn't as successful, and just try to do things differently for the next episodes and for the next parts of your story and seeing if it worked. And you can also do this for when engagement is high. So obviously when things are going really good, you gotta congratulate yourself, give yourself a pat on the back, and then also look into engagement and be like, well, what did I do right? Because learning from your wins is also just as important as learning from your losses, right? At that point in time, maybe the comments will be super hyped about this one thing coming up. They're super invested about this one plot that you started to talk about. And so looking into the comments there and really taking note of that and doing more of that can help improve your series and just improve engagement and readership overall. Definitely, if you want to look at comments in a way to help improve your work, I would say the best way to look at it is to look at the intersection between engagement and comments and just see where they align and see if there's any patterns. That way you can really look at your comments and look at feedback in a way that is very constructive. So this is my last tip and kind of like a secret tip. This is just something from personal experience that I thought was important to share, which is honestly the power of the comments and how it will affect you will slowly decline over time. And at some point, years down the line, you will look at all of the silly comments, especially the ones that are super rude, and just laugh your ass off because you're like, that's so funny, why did they comment something like that? Time is the most important thing that gets you there, because over time, that's how you build your confidence in your work, that's how you build your identity. Putting out that webtoon every single week, drawing every single day. If somebody says something stupid on the internet, then you already have that self-confidence and you can tell yourself, I've been making this thing every single day for 2 to 3 years. I've been in this grind and doing this webtoon thing for just ages, and this rando could come here and tell me X, Y, and Z about my story? Like, of course not. And that type of self-esteem and confidence is only just built through repetition, practice, and just really becoming a master in your craft. So that brings me to the end of the video. So hopefully this video has helped you navigate your relationship with comments better so that you can more confidently create your webtoon, create your story, and just do so from a place that is full of enjoyment. With that being said, if this video was useful, feel free to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. It would help me a lot so I can make more videos like this for you guys. And yeah, feel free to comment what kind of videos you would like to see next that would help you on your journey. And without further ado, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!